Hey guys, and welcome back to Rainbow Ink. I have been waiting to do this video for 2 years. This is Percy Jackson, the Olympians, the show by the chapters. So for anyone asking what this is, so 2 years ago, I had made a video of going through the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series and comparing it to the Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Lightning Thief book, pretty much seeing what the show took from the original book and what chapter it originally came from. Today, we are doing that with the Sea of Monsters because Season 2 has been out, by the time this video comes out, a month and a half. And apologies on this video taking so long. I wanted to make sure and wait for all 8 episodes to come out, and I wanted people to watch them, so it'll be minimum spoilers, but to anyone who's watching who hasn't seen the show or read the original book, there will be major spoilers for this as well, and I just wanted to make sure I got everything. But just in case I didn't, and I missed a detail, I apologize in advance. Tell me in the comments below what I missed. So, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the show by the chapters, was inspired by Dominic Noble's Last of the Adaptation series on his channel. He didn't do Season 2, he did Season 1, which his channel will be in the description below if Dominic Noble you're watching. Hi. Please don't sue me. Also Disney too, don't sue me, please. So anyways, yeah. If you see me hold up a piece of paper, which most likely through this whole thing you will, this is my script. It's 6 pages long for all 8 episodes. This is episode by episode going through what chapters they used and talking about them. I also will put up the episode number and the chapter that I am talking about when I'm talking about them on screen, so no one gets confused, and if anyone wants to follow along at home, they can. So anyways, enough rambling, enough stalling. Let's get into Percy Jackson, the Sea of Monsters by the chapters. Alright, starting with episode 1. I played dodgeball with cannibals. The chapters that were used in the show were part of chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, and well, part of chapter 7. A lot of chapters. This is the episode with the most chapters because, of course, it's the first episode. It has a lot of groundwork to lay out. So, there's that. The first episode shares the same title as the second chapter in the book. Here's what happened in the chapters that got used in the show. So, in chapter 1, Percy has a dream about Grover being in trouble and then tells his mom about it. Really, that's it, yeah. Chapter 2, Annabeth shows up, but not at the school, like in the book. She just shows up on the street. And then the fight with the whole cannibal giant scene happens, but again, in the show, it happens near camp, not at school. We actually don't get to see anything of Percy's new school, especially since we know he's not going to Yancey Academy anymore or anything like that. And then chapter 3, they take the Grey Sisters cab to Camp Halfwood with that whole scene happening where the eyeball gets held as hostage and the Grey Sisters tell Percy the coordinates of where Grover is, aka the Sea of Monsters. And then they make it to camp. Chapter 4 is, again, they're at camp. They meet up with Clarice and the others. They find out that Talia's tree has been poisoned. At that moment in time, they don't know it's Luke, but as the audience in the show, they literally see Luke do it. So there's that. Chapter 5, they learn Chiron is gone and they meet Tantalus. And that they learn that Tyson is a son of Poseidon, him being Percy's half-brother. Chapter 6, Percy and Titus talk about Titus being a son of Poseidon and when Titus was on the streets before going to sleep. Then Percy gets another dream about Grover and learns that he is at the Sea of Monsters. And then finally, Chapter 7. They talk about how to save Talia's tree, that being the Golden Fleece. And that's it for episode 1. Okay, episode 2, Demon Pigeons Attack. The chapters that were used was 6, 7, a small part of 8, and a small part of 10, so we skip 9 entirely. The second episode shares the same title as the 6th chapter in the book. Here's what happened in the chapters that got used in the show. Chapter 6, the whole chariot cart happens, and then Annabeth, Tyson, and Percy saves everyone from the demon pigeons. Chapter 7, Percy tells Annabeth about his dream of Grover and where he is. Percy tells Tantalus how to save Camp/Talia's tree, but Titus gives the quest to Clarice. Percy meets with Hermes and gives him some gifts, aka the thermist and the vitamins. Chapter 8, Annabeth, Percy, and Titus goes to Luke's boat. And then finally, chapter 10, they call Chiron and figure out where he's at. But in the show, it's just Annabeth, while in the original book, it was Annabeth and Percy. So yeah, that's it. Very small part of 2 chapters, bigger parts of other chapters, of the other 2 chapters, and we just skipped 9 entirely in this episode. But don't worry, 9 will be in the next episode. We'll get to it. Okay, episode 3, we aboard the Princess Andromeda. Hopefully I said that right. Chapters that were used in this episode are 8, 9, a small part of 10 again, and 12. Skip over 11 apparently again. Anyways, episode 3 shares the same title as chapter 8 in the books. Here's what happened in the chapters that got used on the show. Chapter 8, Annabeth, Titus, and Percy goes to / gets on Luke's ship, and they find Cronus' coffin. Then, chapter 9, which is the meat of everything, they find some of Luke's men, and then Luke and his men find them, which happens. Luke explains his plan to them and tries to persuade them to join him. Then they try to take them out when they decline, but our heroes escape. Chapter 10, they use the thermostat to escape. That's literally it, because 10 was used in the last episode. Chapter 12, Annabeth tells Percy about the prophecy. Yeah, that's it. Anyways, onwards to episode 4, Clarice blows up everything. This is an amazing title, I love it so much. Anyways, the chapters that were used in the show were 10, 11, 12, a small part of 13, and a small part of 17. So far, this is the second most chapters that were used in the show. Episode 1 still being first. Anyways, the 4th episode shares the same title as the 11th chapter in the book. Here's what happened in the chapters that were used in the show. Chapter 10, they go to Pathwood Hideout, but in the show, it's only Annabeth that goes inside, while in the original book, it's all 3 of them, partly. And then they meet up with Clarice and her dead crew, which I gotta admit, before we go on, I'm glad they changed that part of it, where it's just people who've died of war for Ares, and not just, how it is in the book, because I don't even want to talk about that. Anyways, chapter 11, which is the meat of everything. They are on Clarice's ship, going to the Sea of Monsters. Then they enter the Sea of Monsters. They sail for Skyla, hopefully I said that right, and then to Charybdis, again, hopefully I said that right, and try to fight it, and then everything goes bad. The boat catches on fire and is down. They go to the lifeboats. Percy and Annabeth gets on, but Tyson doesn't. Percy and Annabeth escape, but Percy thinks Tyson is dead. Chapter 13. Annabeth tells Percy about how Talia died / became the pine tree. Chapter 17. Clarice tells Percy the prophecy the oracle told her. We should note that Clarice in the show only tells Percy, while in the original book, she pretty much tells everybody when they're in Percy's cave. So anyways, next up, episode 5. Episode 5 is we checked into Cece's spa and resort. Only 2 chapters get used because they're the main chunk of this episode, that being 12 and 13. Episode 5 shares the same title as the 12th chapter in the book. Here's what happened in the chapters that got used for the show. Chapter 12. Percy thinks Tyson is dead. We've already discussed in the last episode. Percy and Annabeth are at the Cece spa and resort, and everything that happens with them getting their makeovers, Percy getting turned into a guinea pig, Percy and the others who are in the cage with him, who got turned into rodents and guinea pigs, take the vitamins that Hermes gave them, and it gets turned back to their old selves. And then the whole place gets turned upside down because of Blackbeard and his crew. Annabeth and Percy gets a ship and escapes Cece's spa resort. And then chapter 13, they go past the sirens. And the whole siren scene pretty much happens. It's different in the book versus the actual show. But still, Percy saves Annabeth from the sirens, and they make it past the sirens, and Percy learns of Annabeth's fatal flaw as well, and then they see Polyphemus' island, and then go to it. There is one note that I did make for myself that I did want to real quick talk about before we move on to episode 6, which is, in this episode, it gets revealed what Percy's fatal flaw is in this season, instead of Titan's curse. I just wanted to mention that. It's a little weird that they mention it here instead in Titan's curse, because I think, if memory serves me, Athena is the one who tells Percy what his greatest flaw is instead of Circle in the show. For some reason, they changed that. I don't know. Rick's decision. Anyways, onwards to episode 6. Episode 6 is Nobody Gets the Fleece. Chapters that were used was 14, 15, and a part of 16. The 6th episode shares the same title as the 15th chapter in the book. Here's what happened in the chapters that got used in the show. They are at Polyphemus' island. They find Grover and Clarice. Percy and Annabeth gets in Polyphemus' cave. Annabeth uses her invisibility cap to distract Polyphemus with nobody. Percy gets to Grover and Clarice and tries to save them, but in chapter 15, they get caught. But in the show, Annabeth doesn't get caught. In the book, she does. They're trapped in Polyphemus' cave, but we learn Tyson is alive. And then finally, in chapter 16, the whole scene of Tyson and Polyphemus fighting scene happens. That's it for episode 6. Again, a lot of variations happen within these episodes from the original books to begin with, so there's that. Now next is episode 7. Episode 7 is titled I Go Down with the Ship. Chapters that were used were 16, 17, and a part of 18. The 7th episode shares the same title as the 16th chapter in the book does. Here's what happens in the chapters that got used for the show. Before I go over them, not a lot happens. A lot of deviation. So note that right now before I read these. Chapter 16. Tyson summons Rainbow and his friends so they can get off of Polyphemus' island. Chapter 17. They make it to Miami. They send Clarice back to camp with the fleas, but in the show, it's after the whole fight on the boat happens. Well, in the book, it's before that. And then finally, chapter 18, the whole fight scene on the boat, like in the book, happens. That's it. 3 pieces of chapters, and that's it. Again, a lot of deviation. The last couple episodes are the most deviation, which is very understandable if you want a difference of the book. So before I go on to the final episode, episode 8, I do have one more thing to note, that a lot of things happen in this episode that are quietly different from the book, like I just stated, but I'm reading them in order of the chapters of the book. I should have stated that earlier. I didn't. Episodes 7 and 8 are really big, strong indications of this, like I just stated. Like I just said, a lot of deviation from the original book for the show in this, but still took very much good inspiration from it. So here we go. The final episode, episode 8. The fleece magic works too well. Chapters that were used with a small part of 18, 19, and 20. 19 and 20 are the big things. Granted, they do get run together for this episode. Episode 8 shares the same title as chapter 20 in the book. The final chapter makes sense to have your last episode be that same chapter name. Here's what happened in the chapters that got used in the show. Chapter 18. Luke and his people got away. Yep, the whole battle scene that we see in episode 8 against like Luke and Percy and stuff, that's only for the show, quote unquote, because they do fight in the book towards the end, but it's on Luke's ship. In other words, the battle that we got to somewhat see/saw in episode 7, it's just, there's no party ponies, and Kyron doesn't come and help Percy, which sucks. Kyron doesn't really do anything in this season, which makes sense, but they took away his one big thing that he does, which makes me sad. Anyways, chapter 19, they get back to camp. Clarice is back to camp and puts the fleece on the tree to start it healing. Chiron is back at Camp Halfway. Percy hears from his dad. In the show, he comes to him in a dream, but in the book, it's a letter. Tyson tells Percy that when he was on the street, he was asking for help, aka a friend, aka Percy. Pretty much someone to be there for him. And then, chapter 20. Poseidon visits Tyson in a dream, but in the show, Percy's there too, because they just merge it into one scene, which actually kind of makes more sense. That Poseidon wants Tyson to go and work in the Cyclops forges in the underwater, which is labeled as his internship in the books. And with that, Tyson agrees to go and leaves. And then finally, Talia is alive and back. And that is it. Percy Jackson Season 2 by the chapters. That's everything. Like I stated through most of this video, they did deviate a lot from the original book to the show. Mainly, like, yes, it started off originally with the first episode where Tyson lives with Sally and Percy, and then Annabeth just showing up on the streets and not at the school, and then the cannibals, giants, again, not at the school, at camp, and then so on and so forth to where, like, big major changes towards the end of the show happen. Again, spoiler alerts for the show if you haven't seen already, but the twist ending of Rick making Zeus a more terrible, horrible person makes sense, because Zeus wasn't a very good dad to begin with, especially whatever it was Talia, or even Jason when he was Jupiter, or any other, really if there's any other kids, because he has a lot of kids, because he can't keep it in his pants, a lot of times. But no offense, him just turning her into a tree and a big deviation from it, because originally she got hurt, but he just like forced her into a tree, which was very messed up. There was parts of the season that I do very much like. I very much actually enjoyed episode 5 with them going to the CC Resort and Spa. I very much enjoyed the actress who played Circle. I think she was really amazing. I wish we got to see more of her. And I also wish we got to see more of Percy just being a guinea pig, but they had to cut some things. I know in that episode 2 we were supposed to get the underwater bubble with Percy and Annabeth, and people were like very upset we didn't get that, but Rick stated like they had to cut that due to budget and everything else, which I understand. That would be a lot of money to do. There is one change that I very much like that they did, and I hope they do this moving forward, is we're getting glimpses in like pocket scenes, as I'm going to call them, of what's happening with Grover in Polyphemus's cave, or what's happening with Clarice and her all dead crew members, and like I very much liked and enjoyed those scenes particularly, because in the book we don't get those scenes. It's just mainly following Percy, because of course Percy is the main character. His name's literally on the book to begin with. Of course, he's the main character. We're going to follow him. But I really like those pocket little scenes of we're checking in with Grover and with Clarice, and even like the little pocket scenes we're checking in with Luke and see how he's doing. I really like those scenes. I hope moving forward, because I know what happens in the Titan's Curse. Who's the next quote-unquote character that's going to disappear off and going to have a smaller part in it, which... spoiler, it's Annabeth, and I hope we get like little check-ins on her as well in season 3. I hope for that. I think most of the actors in this did an amazing job. I did very much like the season. There were some parts that I wish they added, like the ponies and having Chiron coming in and helping. His one major part he does in this, no offense, in the book, I wish he got to do. But again, I get it. It's probably happened because of budget cuts and stuff like that. And I like making Tyus's story less sad instead of him just like being a charity case for the school. Sally brought him in, showing how much of a good mom / person Sally is, which I do like. We got to see more of her as well. And yeah, there were some things I didn't like about it. There were some things I did. And again, there is a particular sequence that I very much love, which is Clarice and her like dead crew coming up on shore, where like the shore where Percy and Annabeth and her like they're just walking. I don't know why, but that sequence I just really like. It's like with the Mrs. Dobbs when she turns herself into a fairy sequence in the first season. I really like it. And of course, season 3 has been confirmed. It's been filmed. It's coming this year. So next year, I will do a Percy Jackson, The Titan's Curse by the chapters, which I'm very excited for. We have literally gotten a first look of it, literally in the last episode at the end credit scene, which is fun. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if anyone who was able to come along with me, hopefully you guys were able to. Again, this series was inspired by Dominic Noble's Lost in Adaptation series. Again, it will be in the link description below. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time here on Rainbow Link. Last video right there, subscriber beneath the Lightning Thief by the chapters video is right there. Also be in the link description below as well. And I'll see you guys next time here on Rainbow Link. Bye!